Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah, guys. This is brother Ijaz Ahmad, and as you can see today I intended to do a brief Q&A and a brief summary of the events that happened in my debut at Speaker's Corner in my debate with Hatun. Bulut, I think is her real name. I think she goes by the fake name Tash. But in any case, you can actually see my SC Dawa hat, alhamdulillah. The brother from SC Dawa, brother Naveed, absolutely wonderful brother. That's the brother from the SC Dawa YouTube channel. This is actually the hat that he gave me, and it has his YouTube channel and the link to it. MashaAllah, it's a really good hat. It doesn't fit my head that well because I have a really tiny head, and it's a really big hat. And I also have the EF Dawa t-shirt on. So most of you would have actually seen the EF Dawa hoodie, but they also made t-shirts. So technically speaking, I have the first SC Dawa hat and the first EF Dawa t-shirt and hoodie, and they actually fit really well. They're really good quality, but the hat's really awkward. So I'm just going to take it off really briefly, but just so you can see it a bit more closely. SC Dawa, there you go. And so you can see the t-shirt. It says Iman Foundation Dawa Team. And this was the t-shirt I received from brother Darren and the other brothers at EF Dawa. So if any questions come up, I'll answer them briefly, but I'm just going to go ahead with the review of what happened at the Speaker's Corner. So I showed up pretty early. I showed up after the Dhuhr Salah. This was around 1 p.m. in the afternoon, I think, just around that time. I had, when I arrived at Speaker's Corner, a lot of people don't know this, but it's really tiny. So the park, Hyde Park, is huge, but Speaker's Corner, it's literally like one corridor of people, kind of like a U-shaped turn. So it's a very small area with a lot of people that pack in, but the park itself is gigantic, basically speaking, in comparison. There's a very big police presence, alhamdulillah, a lot of security individuals there to keep the people safe, and that is very much appreciated. And I would actually like to thank the London Metropolitan Police, I think it is, because they actually do a fantastic job. May Allah, continue to allow them to work within the community and allow the community to work with them in a very harmonious way. Really wonderful thing. So I showed up at like 1 p.m. ish, and there was one Christian speaker at the corner. His name is, I think he's like a cowboy speaker. So he's on a ladder and he's screaming at people. He was funny, he was interesting to listen to, but not really a dialogue partner. Bob the Builder was there as well, I think. And it was at that point that I believe I sent someone to approach him on my behalf. Brother Ijaz is here, he wants to talk to Bob the Builder. And we sent like 3 individuals over the day. I think it was like 4 hours to approach him repeatedly. I could be wrong on the timing, but at least 3 individuals I know did approach him on my behalf. But Bob the Builder chose not to have a conversation. When it came to the conversation with Hatun Bulut, Hatun Tash, whatever name she chooses to use, she actually, I didn't approach her, by the way. I was with someone and they approached them on my behalf. They spoke to the person called Daniel, which is the guy that's usually with Hatun, and he said, hey, this guy wants to have a dialogue with both of you. Well, are you interested? They said yes, and I said okay, good. So I didn't actually directly speak to Daniel or Hatun, and in the meantime, while waiting on Hatun and Daniel to have their whatever they were doing, I went just behind them. There's like I said, it's a U-shaped turn. So I went like 15 feet away from them, and I had a wonderful dialogue with a Greek Orthodox Christian. His name is Alex, and he came into the conversation with the belief that the New Testament was the unaltered word of God, and we actually ended the discussion with him saying, yeah, okay, there have been changes. So that's a pretty dramatic shift, and I think it was something like a 30-minute conversation. And I remember now, he knows Greek. I'm not a native Greek speaker, but I have my Greek New Testament that I usually walk with, my trusty handy Greek New Testament that shows me changes and alterations, that kind of thing. And he was actually shocked. I'm not joking. He was shocked to see the kind of changes that were made to the New Testament over time, and especially the date of those changes. He was shocked because it's almost within a century of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And I want to remind the people that we actually have changes to the New Testament going up even to today. this very century, the 21st century, you have changes to the New Testament. Still, he didn't actually know these things. He thought that the New Testament was well preserved, and he conceded in the end that it's not. In any case, during that conversation, just so you guys know, I'm just recounting my discussion with Hatun, but I'm taking questions as well. So if you have any questions or comments that you want to ask me, you can ask about anything. You can ask it in the comment section, and I will answer, inshallah. So back to the story. So I'm talking with this Greek Orthodox Christian guy called Alex, and to the right of me I can see Hatun and Daniel, and I can see when they finished what they were doing and they're coming off their ladders, and I waved them over. I think it's actually in the video with me and Alex. I waved them over, but they seemed to like walk away. So I thought that they were going to take a break, and after I finished my dialogue with Alex, that they would debate me. That did not happen to be the case. As it turns out, we actually had to send 3 or 4 people to say, hey, you agreed to debate this guy, come here, we've got like 4 cameras set up, come and join us. And they didn't want to come. So the first person got denied, the second person got denied, the third person got denied, until finally, I think it was an Arab brother, he comes up, he says, let me try. He goes, he speaks to them, and finally they agree. So they were actually reluctant to have a dialogue and a debate with us, despite having agreed to it. In any case, they came over, and at this point in time, they knew something was up, because, I'm not joking, all the cameras in the park were on us. They were waiting on them to actually come. Almost every single camera person in the park, and there's like 8 of them possibly, was in one location, and they all had these microphones on me. And so they were like, wait a second, who is this guy? Why are all the microphones on him? And in any case, it's turning into the nighttime now. Maghrib Salah has finished, and I can't see anything. So if you're watching the debate with me with Hatun on SC Dawa, the YouTube channel, or EF Dawa, the YouTube channels, you'd actually see me taking my phone and doing this. Like, I can't actually see anything, because you have all these cameramen. It's pitch black, so I can't see anything except the camera lights. So I can see Hatun and Daniel and the camera lights, that's it. So I can't see anyone or anything. I'm basically blinded at this point. That's why you see me like squinting and doing this quite a lot, because I can't see. I don't know who's speaking to me. I don't know who's saying what, because they usually tell you, hey, can you move like 3 feet that way or like 2 feet that way to get a better shot, that kind of thing. The other thing was the microphones kept falling off my winter jacket, so they had to keep like coming and sticking it back on. A lot of people asked me, why was I shouting, or why was Hatun shouting? Well, technically, Hatun did have reason to shout, because you can't actually hear yourself speak at Speaker's Corner, because everyone around you, it's a large crowd around us, and there are people having their own conversations, so you can't hear them and you can't hear yourself. So she was screaming. She didn't need to scream. She's exaggerating her voice. But if she spoke as I spoke, just a little bit elevated, it would have been fine. But she was screaming at me. Let me just pause here. Brother Abu Bakr Muhammad asks, Assalamu alaikum wa alaikum assalam, Brother Abu Bakr Muhammad. When are you going to debate the liar J. Smith? Enjoyed watching your Speaker's Corner visit. I hope you can visit again, inshallah. Well, just briefly, J. Smith did agree to debate me this year in Hong Kong, and he pulled out of the debate, demanding a change in topic. So Jay and the organization he was working with, Horizons International, approached the Muslims in Hong Kong, and I have the emails, we have the screenshots, we have the brothers in Hong Kong on video saying this as well, alhamdulillah. Jay Smith and this Christian group in Hong Kong, so I'll come back to the Speaker's Corner story in a minute. Let me answer the question briefly. So Jay Smith and the organization in Hong Kong say to the Muslims in Hong Kong, I want to debate on the Quran. I want to debate any topic, actually. Any topic, we'll decide on the topic later, but you choose your Muslim representative and Jay will be the Christian side. So the Muslims agreed under those conditions. You still have to negotiate the topic, and we get to choose whichever Muslim speaker we want. But Jay will be the Christian speaker. So, alhamdulillah, the Muslim side ended up selecting me as the Muslim representative for the debate. And J. Smith's team recommended the topic, the Quran or the Bible, which is better preserved. And the Muslim side accepted that topic. And with that topic in mind, they actually chose me as the Muslim debater. And J. Smith, his first reaction was, I will not debate Ijaz because Ijaz does not know how to debate. 2 problems there. in the month of May, he published a document which said I was one of the top Muslim debaters in the world. By his organization, his own writing, he says I'm one of the top Muslim debaters. And he actually lists me as the only Muslim debater in the South America Caribbean region, which is odd, yeah. And in the month of March, he actually agreed to debate me. We had a dialogue on a Zoom webinar, and he agreed verbally and on video to debate me. So the Muslim brothers were like, wait a second, hold on now. You told us, you, Jay, told us any Muslim was fine, and now you're telling us who we can choose. That's not fair. You get to choose who the Christian representative is, we get to choose who the Muslim representative is. This is not like a buffet where you get to like pick and choose. So Jay Smith conceded after he found out that all of the other Muslim du'at, all the other Muslim debaters, had selected me as the individual to debate him. So he said, fine, I'll debate Ijaz. Whatever the case is, I'll debate him. So, we weren't bothered. I wasn't bothered. It didn't matter to me. And I think like a week later, he sent an email saying the topic needs to change. The topic cannot be on the Bible. It has to only be on the Quran. And the Muslim side, at this point, they're the ones handling it. I'm not involved. They're the ones handling it. And they said to themselves, hold on, wait a second. You suggested the topic, the Quran or the Bible, which is better preserved. Now that we've chosen Ijaz to represent the Muslim side, you want the Bible to be removed. And Jay Smith basically says either we change the topic to exclude the Quran, to exclude the Bible, or I just give a lecture in Hong Kong. And the Muslims basically said, you came to us for the debate. It doesn't matter that you can't change it last minute after months of negotiation and agreement just because you feel like it. It's not like what's the word? It's a two-way street, not a one-way street. You don't just get to choose who the person is or what the topic is on our side, yeah? It has to be mutually agreed. He didn't like that, so he pulled out of the event. But the Muslims were like, doesn't matter what Jay does or doesn't do. He can come here to speak about the Quran, but we'll bring Brother Ijaz, regardless of the debate, to speak on the Bible and the Quran. And so instead of having a one-day debate, we actually turned it into a two-day workshop because Jay had pulled out. Alhamdulillah, it was really well attended. You can actually see I did a live video feed from it when we were doing Dawah training on a Sunday. It was absolutely wonderful, mashallah. I met some amazing people in Hong Kong. The Muslim community there is very well together. They're beautiful, they're very young as well, mashallah. And they're very interested in their deen. I was very impressed by the Muslim community there. So I hope that answers your question, Brother Abu Bakr Muhammad. So it seems that Jay Smith does not want to debate me. And I know why, he knows why as well. And I actually have his PhD thesis that he submitted last year in the month of March as well to the Melbourne School of Theology. And there's two ties to Jay Smith. So I actually was going to present Thesis Joe, because his real name is Joseph Smith, on YouTube Jay, because Thesis Joe says things about the Quran that YouTube Jay would hate him for. And I was going to expose him, and he knows this now because we've made some of the thesis public, alhamdulillah, and I would have embarrassed him. He knows that. His reasoning is laid out in that thesis, his methodology is laid out, so every little idea that he had, I would have exposed it because he actually contradicts himself on almost every single point. And he knows that, I know that, and if I had brought that out in the debate, and even if I have to debate him in the future, I'll also use it. He has nowhere to go back because it shows that he's willing to say one thing in public, but in private he's willing to say another thing, which means he's a two-faced individual, you know. Brother I'm sorry, bro, I can't pronounce your name. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Can you do a refutation of this guy called Mario Josephs, who claimed to be an ex-imam? His arguments are weak, however the video is circulating in South Africa, so I thought if you do a refutation video, inshallah, it could also circulate in clear adults, inshallah. I believe other people have already done refutation videos and that they are already on YouTube, but if you really want me to send me a message, I'll take a second look. I'll send you the videos that the other brothers have done, and if you think that their videos are insufficient, then and only then will I do a video, because It doesn't make sense that multiple Muslims do multiple refutations of the same work when there may already be one that is sufficient. So I hope you understand that. So do send me a message on this page, Calling Christians page, and I will respond to you. Brother Ajmal Wadak, I believe I know you as well. Brother Ajmal, did you want to come on camera? Can you write in the comments, yes, I do want to come on the camera, because I don't want to maybe you mispressed the button or something, I don't know. So do let me know if you did want to come on camera. I have no problem with that, and we can have a chat, inshallah. So just to recap, Brother Abu Bakr, I hope I answered your question. Brother I'm actually Brother Enough, if I can call you that. I don't know how to pronounce your name. Please do forgive me. Let me know if I've answered your question as well, inshallah. Right, so back to the Hatun and Brother Ajmal. If you did want to come on the camera, if you didn't intend to press the button to request to come on camera, then let me know in the comments. Please write it out and I'll approve it, inshallah. So back to the Speaker's Corner event. So we had to convince Hatun to come over, and like I said, she did have legitimate reason, as I understand it, to raise her voice, but it was only like a slightly raising. She did not need to scream. She was screaming at me to be intimidating, and you can actually see, because she was screaming, I had no idea what the hell she was saying some of the time. So I was actually like leaning in, trying to listen to her articulate herself. You'll also notice that regardless of what you say, she doesn't respond to what you say. So she just she reads from a script, and it's really weird because she has like an iPad or something with her, a tablet that she reads from, and she does not deviate from it. So I could be talking about X and she'll start arguing about F or M or L, some random letter. She doesn't matter what you say, she has a script that she has to read from. And the reason I believe that is the case is because she actually cannot debate. I'm being quite honest with you. And a lot of people from the Christian and the Muslim side would tell me I humiliated her, but that was not the intention. The intention was to have a person-on-person debate live at the park. I believe I'm not going to say I lied, but I did try to make a joke by saying I came here just to debate you. I told everyone that on that day. I told everyone I debated on that day. I debated like 5 people. I came here just to debate you. In a sense, that's true, in the sense that I've known about them and I did want to debate with them, but not that I traveled all that way to actually debate those people. But a lot of people were telling me as well that I had an effect on her because she was actually quite pleasant in that video. Usually she's a lot more belligerent. She interrupts you, she cuts you off, she doesn't care about the time or the topic. But I believe the only reason she was kind to me was because when we started, I called her the T word. I'm not going to repeat it here, but I did that for a legitimate reason. I mentioned it there and then, and you will see that she tried to call my bluff, and I said, I have the source. I spoke about the video where the information came from, and I called her bluff, and she relented. She gave up. She did not want to continue that point. In addition to that, I think that set the mood because she knew I had some very special information with me. Now, I want you to notice something. We agreed, or I actually agreed to debate the topic that she suggested, who is Allah praying to or something stupid like that, yeah. I agreed to debate that, and then I raised the topic of the Bible's corruption because I thought she is this quote-unquote expert on the Quran, according to J. Smith. I thought that she would actually want to debate me on the Quran because that's her field allegedly, and that's my field as well. Right, so I study Ilm al-Rasm al-Musaf, the science of the writing of the Quran, the manuscripts of the Quran, etc. I've written refutation. She knows me personally, by the way. I've spoken to Hatun personally in private on multiple occasions. So she knew who I was, by the way. So I was expecting her, if she is this genius person that knows about the Quran, that she would raise the Quran topic if I raised the New Testament topic. And she didn't. She supposedly is this expert. She has a Muslim in front of her that she's interacted with many times on the topic, and when it came time to actually debate it, she refused to debate the one topic she's supposed to be amazing in. But it says to me that she knew her information was wrong. It says to me that she knew she was in a dilemma there. If she had spoken about the Quran, steamrolled, full stop, because she's absolutely ignorant about it. So she chose peripheral topics that did not have much substance to them, and they were easily rebuffed, alhamdulillah. Like I said, if there's any more questions, please send them through. I will be willing to answer them. Whatever the questions are, it doesn't really matter. Just a quick question and answer session. Yeah, so that's pretty much it at the park. Alhamdulillah, it went pretty well. I think after Hatun, I debated a guy called Megatron. Really weird guy, I have to say. He called me a liar because, according to him, I called a conservative Christian scholar, I said I called the guy a conservative Christian scholar. He says the guy isn't a conservative Christian scholar. He's just a liberal, and I'm a liar because of that, allegedly. I called him out on it. He gave up the argument. Alhamdulillah. Okay, so we have a question from Brother Shuaib Salah. He says, when you pointed out the textual problems of the crucifixion story in the New Testament, that they date to the 5th century and that there was nothing from the 1st century, they responded by saying that the New Testament was written in the 1st century according to all biblical scholars. So how would you answer this point? Well, the point is actually simple. At what point was specific points of the gospel stories written? That's the question. Scholars agreed, there's a difference here. Scholars agreed that the New Testament documents were started to be written in the 1st century, but they never say the entire document was written in the 1st century. There's a distinction here, Brother Salah. Hope you understand that. So they agreed that some of the New Testament documents were indeed begun to be written in the 1st century, but they do not say that they were completed or that the form in which we have them today was written in the 1st century. So that's the easiest way to respond to it. And I want to remind you that the reason that, Walaikum Assalam, Brother Kareem, the reason that they come to this conclusion is because they say that some of the, some of the language used about Christ is not very exalting. So it is possible that it was written within the 1st century. They don't really, the other argument they use is that the Gospels were written in the 1st century and could not have been written beyond the 1st centuries because the temple was destroyed. And because Jesus had prophesied about the destruction of the temple, then had the Gospels been written after the destruction of the temple, within or just after the 1st century, towards the end of the 1st century, they would have mentioned it. But that's a red herring because there are many Gnostic Gospels written about Jesus the Christ that were written after the destruction of the temple, but do not include it. So the line of reasoning that they use to come to that conclusion is false in the first place, but secondly, the correct answer, the basic standard answer is that they agree that some of those documents were begun to be written in the 1st century, but they do not say that the form in which we have them today is from the 1st century. Please let me know if I've answered your question, Brother Salah. So that's typically the answer I give them, and they usually don't know that point. They don't know how to distinguish between those 2 points. It's very subtle, but it's a fundamental point of difference. And I usually demonstrate this to them by showing them that the form of the text that the scholars argue for is a reconstruction from the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th centuries. They never say that the reconstructed text is from the 1st century. So when they actually see that data in front of them, they don't know how to confront it. Okay, so Brother Kareem is requesting to come on camera. Let me send you a request. Let me see, inshallah, if you want to come on, please come on. But Brother Shuaib Salah, please let me know if I've answered your question, inshallah. Brother Kareem, I've sent you a request to join the stream, inshallah. You should be receiving a call, I think. I'm not sure if it's actually working. It's my first time doing this. But let me just take a brief sip of water, inshallah. Okay. Like I said, brothers, if you have any more questions, ask them in the comment section below and I will get to them. So, Brother Shoaib Salah, please let me know if I did answer your question, please. I know it might take some time to write out your response, but that's typically the answer I give them. I show them the data and then they usually accept the point. That's the way it usually goes. If they're really obstinate, I ask them to demonstrate any quote from any New Testament scholar that says that the form in which we have the New Testament documents today were written and completed within the 1st century. No such quote exists. Therefore, they've disproven their point. It's a proof by contradiction. I usually use the Socratic method on them, and they pretty much not give up their position, but they say, okay, they'll have to go back and do some more study and they'll get back to me. So their positions are untenable. Brother Kareem, will send your request. It says connection failed. I'm not sure why, but I can't get you on the camera. Yeah. So if you have any more questions, like I said, ask them down below. Yeah, so that's pretty much what happened at Speaker's Corner. It was a really eventful day. A lot of people don't know this as well, which is, hold on, Brother Kareem Ubaidullah, I don't know this individual, wink wink, he's asking a question. I have a question. In your opinion, from a Muslim point of view, when and who were the first to begin believe was... Okay, can you restate the question? I feel like something's missing there, and I can't follow along, yeah? So, Brother Kareem, if you could just double check your question that you sent to me, I will try to respond to it, but it seems like something is missing, so I don't understand the question, yeah? When and who were the first to believe that Jesus was divine? Okay, so that's pretty much simple to answer. If you go to the book of Acts, it actually teaches you that Paul comes to a people, I forgot the name of the city, and this is a city that believed in pagan gods, and these were people who believed in pagan gods. And Paul said to their face, I'm not a god. They believed he was a god. They stoned him to, according to their understanding, they stoned him to death, and he was killed by them. Now, from their point of view, Paul is a god. He says he's not a god, but they believe him to be a god. They believe him saying he's not a god as a test. They stone him, believing that they've killed God, and they go on with their day. So from their perspective, if just work with me here, it's a point of comparison. From their perspective, they think that they've killed God, even though he said he's not God. So in my understanding, Christ many times would have said, may Allah be pleased with him, may Allah have peace upon him. He could have said many times, I'm not God, don't worship me, there's only one God, the God, full stop, just worship him and him alone. I believe that there would possibly have been Jews, or it could have been Gentiles at that time. From his very time, they find him in some way. We can actually understand that in the sense that how many people today you'll actually see among the Muslims now with the balaya. I consider this to be completely impermissible, but they view their shuyukh as having like abilities or powers, as being something more than human, even though their sheikhs might say La ilaha illallah, full stop. So I think it's basically down to the perception of individuals, and it is very likely that during his very time as a prophet upon the earth, giving his message to his ummah, that people may have begun deifying him, and because of the mysterious circumstances of his leaving of the earth, they would have deified him even more. People are like that, you can't control it, and these people will be judged by God at the end of the day. It could have been at his time, it could have been shortly thereafter. That's the way I view it, at least. It doesn't mean it was correct. Same thing like the people that stoned Paul and thought he was God, even though he said he was not a God. People can be easily misled by their own desires, and this is why we always say we trust what the prophets have. We trust what the prophets have been given. We trust what the prophets preach, and that's where we stop. That's our limit. We don't. What's the word? We don't invent things on their behalf, yeah? We stop at the limits, alhamdulillah. So I hope that answers your question, Brother Kareem. If you have a follow-up question, please do let me know. If you think I didn't answer your question, also let me know, and I'll try to answer it again, inshallah, yeah? So if anyone has any questions, like I said, send them down below, please, inshallah. We have a little bit more time left. Let me just check the time really quickly. Yeah, we do have enough time left. All right, Brother Kareem asks, thanks. Secondly, if you could debate anyone in the world from the Christian apologists, which would it be and what subject would you want to discuss? That's a tough question, because at this point in time, I don't believe that there's any Christian apologist specifically that I would want to debate that I think is like needs to be debated. That there's such of major importance, so that they have so much knowledge that they're an obstacle for people from converting from Christianity to Islam. I don't believe such a Christian apologist exists. But if I did have to debate a Christian apologist, I think it would be someone like Dr. Daniel Wallace, maybe, perhaps, because I like textual criticism. That's the field I'm in. So that's the kind of individual I would like to debate, but I don't think it's necessary to debate him. So it's more of an option, but not a requirement. So that's the way I view it at this point in time. Brother Abu Bakr Muhammad As how about James White? James White is a very pleasant individual. I have lots of good things to say about him, but I'm not sure on what topic I could debate him on. Yes, he is doing his PhD on textual criticism, but from the debates we've already had, I don't think there's anything more to discuss than we have already discussed. If anything, I would probably like to discuss the preservation of the Quran and the New Testament as a comparison, and how it fits into our views of inspiration and scripture, that kind of thing. That's one possible avenue, but like I said, it's not something that needs to be done, because he's not an obstacle from people coming from Christianity to Islam. That's the way I view it, at least. I hope that answers the question, by the way, Brother Abu Bakr Muhammad. Please let me know if I did answer your question, inshallah. So if there are any more questions, please submit them down below, yeah? A lot of people seem to misunderstand this in the sense that all Muslim apologists must debate all Christian apologists. How many times will we have the same debates over and over again? At some point, it needs to stop, and you need to ask yourself, okay, who needs to be debated and why? The only people that you should debate are the people that are obstacles from bringing people from Christianity to Islam. And I don't believe that the Christian apologists today are presenting a very good case for Christianity against Islam in comparison to Islam. So I don't think that they need to be debated. I mean, as much respect as I have for a person like James White, I think his debates with Brother Zakir Hussain settled the issue for me. His debate with Ustad Adnan, his debate with Brother Abdullah Andalusi, I think, alhamdulillah, it is sufficient. His debates with Dr. Shabir Ali, I think it is sufficient. I don't think there's anything more I can add to the table. Not to say that I don't have things I can add, but I'll possibly get into the minutiae and the technical stuff, and I don't think the wider public is generally interested in that kind of thing, because I do talk to multiple Christian apologists in private. I wouldn't say that we debate, but we have like discussions back and forth, and we ask each other questions all the time. And contrary to popular belief, we don't sit down and hate each other all day long. We are actually quite amicable in private, and we ask each other questions, and we compare answers, compare resources, that kind of thing, because we're interested in learning about the other side, and it's less about competing, if you know what I mean, in private. And so we have very good relationships with most of the Christian apologists, alhamdulillah. And yeah, we're just doing what we need to do. We don't see it really as having to debate each and every one of them all of the time. Yeah. So if you guys have questions, like I said, we're doing a brief question and answer session today. If you have any questions, do send them down below, inshallah. And brothers, like I said, if you disagree with my philosophy, you gotta let me know, yeah? I'm not gonna be right on everything that I say. I completely accept that. And my reasoning may not always be the best. I also accept that. But this is the way I've understood things, and this is the way I've come to see them. And it's just basically through experience, yeah? So, bismillah. Any more questions, inshallah? Because I could go a little bit into the Hong Kong trip if the people are interested in that. But don't necessarily have to, yeah? Yeah, so basically that's pretty much it. You know, the event at Speaker's Corner were really fun. And like I said, I have my EF Dawa t-shirt. And I have my SC Dawa cap. Alhamdulillah. The brothers behind the two organizations are absolutely wonderful. May Allah reward them. Brother Kareem, he asked a question. Can you refer us to any Muslim apologist that may be unknown to the masses but highly beneficial? Also, if you could set up a debate between two people to debate any subject, to finally settle a particular issue, who on what subject? Okay, that's a two-part question. Muslim apologists that I think people should know. People like Brother Akil Unq, also known as Redush Shubuhat, Refuting the Doubts, I think is one such individual. There's Yahya Snow as well, but he's a bit on the wayside these days. There's Brother Abu Ayyub from Simply Siri. He has a couple of videos coming out very soon, which I think the people should know about and they should follow. Simply Siri is his YouTube channel and Facebook channel. There's Brother Darren, though I think he's well known from EF Dawa. There's Brother Hashim, Brother Mansoor. These kinds of individuals are the ones I would recommend people learn from. who are unknown, because the question was lesser known or unknown. These are the people I would usually refer you to. The second part of your question, also, if you could set up two people to debate any subject to finally settle a particular issue, who and what subject? That's a tough one, to be honest. Myself and Jay Smith on the corruption of the Quran and the New Testament. I'm being a bit biased here. I would like to engage him on that topic, but I know he's going to continue running, and he knows I'm not going to, I'm going to continue refuting him as time goes on. So there will be multiple opportunities in the future. Like I said, he's already listed me in a document published by his organization as a top Muslim debater. So he knows that he's running into trouble right now with me. But I'm just going to keep chugging along. Whatever comes, let it happen. I'm not going to beg people for debates or anything like that. If it happens, it happens. It doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. It's the will of Allah, and I'm pleased with the will of my Lord. That's just the way it works, alhamdulillah. But Abu Bakr Muhammad asks, will you post the Hong Kong videos on YouTube? So I'm not the one in charge of the Hong Kong videos, but the brothers from the Serving Islam team, and you could actually like their page on Facebook and follow their YouTube channel, Serving Islam Team Hong Kong. They're the ones that have the videos. MashaAllah, they did a wonderful job recording. Brother Kashif, may Allah reward him, was very dutiful in that regard. They recorded the 2-day sessions in full. And they have my slides as well from those sessions. They have the audio, the video, whatever the case may be. They are the ones that will edit it, and they did indicate to me that they will be uploading them and putting them online. So it's just a matter of time. I know that these things take time to edit, etc. So I'm not in a rush. But there is actually a video that has been uploaded that people don't know about, in that I did have a session with the Du'at and the scholars in London on a similar topic, but it was for the Du'at and the scholars, not for the lay people. And that session was recorded. And if you want access to it, Brother Abu Bakr, because I know that you do dawah, then we can give you access to the video, but it's not for the public, it's for the private, inshallah, where we discuss upcoming arguments, upcoming issues that might happen, and we preempt them, we break them down, we analyze them. And I actually had a back and forth with people like Brother Muhammad Hijab, Brother Hamza Zotzes, etc. In that event. Alhamdulillah, it was absolutely wonderful. All the brothers and the scholars and the Duat came together, and we had a wonderful event. So alhamdulillah, yeah. Hope that answers your question, Brother Abu Bakr. So message me, send a private message if you want the video to that private event. But you got to keep it private, inshallah. Any more questions, guys? Send your questions. I'm here to answer. I'm not sure for how much longer I can stay. Let me just check the time. It's been about 10 minutes since I last checked the time. So, yeah, I'll take some time, inshallah. But, yeah, any more questions, feel free to write them out and I'll tackle them. That's the way things work around here, yeah? Hope you like the new camera. It seems to be working well. And the audio setup, alhamdulillah. Let's hope it continues working. Bismillah. Yeah, so that's pretty much it, guys. London, Hong Kong was awesome. I did have a stopover in Barbados. Apparently they pronounce it Barbados. Completely had an existential nightmare when I learned I've been pronouncing that island's name wrong for all of my life. But the Kareem Ubaidal has another question. What Muslim-Christian debate was your favorite of all time? Do you know of any debate that may have harmed more than benefited? Maybe it got too personal and almost out of control. So that's a two-part question again, yeah? My favorite of all time would possibly be Dr. Ali Attai and David Wood, because Dr. Ali Attai just steamrolled the guy, alhamdulillah. My second favorite debate, I'm not sure if it's online still, but again it's with David Wood, but this time it's Sami Zaatari on, I think, terrorism or something like that. I think it was his last debate, Sami Zaatari's last debate, not even sure. Could have been in the year 2011 or 2012, and it was spectacular. David Wood did not know how to respond to Sami Zaatari. It was really wonderful, alhamdulillah. Those were two debates I would highly recommend, because I actually got impressed about Sami from that debate. So those are the two I would actually recommend. And I think they're actually open calling Christians. I could be wrong, but I think they are. On the website, that is. Okay, and you asked, Do you know of any debate that may have harmed more than benefited? Maybe it got too personal, almost out of control. There is one such debate. It was on the Quran and the Bible. I'm not going to say who the speakers were, but I don't think that the Muslim side did a proper. I don't think that the Muslim side responded directly to the Christians' arguments, and it could have been done better, but Allah knows best. As it turns out, because of that debate, so many brothers got involved in dawah that, Allah, things work out. Allah has a way in which things work out. So alhamdulillah, I'm satisfied with it. So I don't think anything like that. Debates with Chris Claus usually tend to get out of control. There's also a debate that brother Yusuf Ismail had with Jonathan McDonald's, I forgot his name. Jonathan, he has this UK-based organization, I forgot the name of it. It was at the Gospel's eyewitness testimony. The Muslim side did spectacular, but the Christian side was so poor. It's so many assumptions and mistakes that had they actually been familiar with the scholarly literature, Jonathan just presented something so poorly. It was a gigantic waste of Brother Yusuf Ismail's time. But alhamdulillah, he did a very good job, and he demonstrated that the Gospels were false, fake news basically, alhamdulillah. So I think in the end it's the benefit. Brother Saeed Hamza asks, I think Muslims have wiped the floor enough with Christians. I would say it's time to stand to the ex-Muslims community. What do you say, Ijaz, brother? Okay, again, I've answered this question previously in writing but not on video. Muslims are a very short-sighted people. There have been times in history when atheism was a primary... what I say is that the topics of Christianity and atheism come in waves. So at some points throughout Islamic history, the Christians have been on top in terms of who we need to dialogue with. And in other times, the atheists have been the ones that we need to dialogue with. So it's a waves. There are crescendos, then there are dips, and that's the way in which it works. So I think it's a matter of, okay, the Christians do present an opposition that we still need to prepare for, because they control most of academia. They're the ones that are in most positions of academia when it comes to Islam in the West. So a lot of the atheists are getting the information from the Christians in academia. So the Muslims need to engage in academia, and they need to debate Christians at the academic level. That's what needs to happen. Alhamdulillah, it's beginning to happen. We have multiple brothers, I'm not saying who, that are beginning to get into this field to engage with the Christians who are in academia to respond to the arguments that the atheists will end up using against Islam. So subhanallah, it's not something with either you focus on atheists or you focus on Christians. You focus on both in their different capacities, in their different functions, as it pertains to their different roles, and you respond to them in proportion. So it's not a matter of either or, it's a matter of both, and of ascertaining how you should proportion your response to both. So I don't think it's you have to choose between the two. To me, that's a false dichotomy. And so we need to be more, more calculated and more prescribed, more prospective, Prospetive, perspective. I think that's how you spell it, yeah? We need to be a lot more smart in the way that we approach these things. Because if we throw all of our resources behind the atheists, when they're getting their arguments from the Christian critics of Islam in academia, then we've basically, as Khalid would say, played ourselves, and we don't want to, take the advice of DJ Khalid, yeah? So I hope I answered your question, Brother Said. Let me know if I have answered it, and if I have not, let me know and I'll try to answer it again, inshallah, yeah? So like I said, guys, any questions that you may have, shoot them at me. Alhamdulillah, I see that Brother Nizam Ghafoor has joined us. I did want to say that I did get to meet Brother Nizam multiple times in London, and let me tell you, Brother Nizam is a wonderful individual. We hugged a great many times, and I'm not going to say where we went. We went to a couple places very late in the night, but Brother Nizam is a blast after 9 p.m. Alhamdulillah, yeah. There's another question. Said Hamza asks, do you think that Unitarian Christians are more closer to Muslims than Jewish people? No, I do not think so, because Unitarian Christians, they still have the idea that Jesus is divine in some form, And to me, that's a problem. The Jews don't consider Christ to be divine in any form. So, and they have the ability to accept Christ as the Messiah without ascribing divinity to him. So I say, alhamdulillah, for the Jews as opposed to the Unitarian Christians. The Unitarian Christians still have a very long way to go, as per my understanding. So I hope I have answered your question, inshallah, Brother Said. There's actually a book on the Trinity by Dr. Dale Tuggy. He is a Unitarian Christian. I would recommend you get the book. I forgot the name of it. But if you do get the book and you read it, you will still see that he himself does present some good arguments against the Trinity, but I still cannot consider his Unitarian form of Christianity to be monotheistic. In the same way that there are many Hindus that consider God to be of one substance, but represented in many forms and different levels of deification, I can't accept them as monotheistic either. Brother Kareem asked another question. Do you think Bart Ehrman's work is useful? Do you study his works? Or do you recommend others instead of him? Do you have any advice for someone who may stumble upon his work and may be naive enough to think that everything he says is correct because some of it agrees with Islam? We Muslims have been played by the Christians. Played by them, absolutely. That is because Bart Ehrman is not as liberal, or it's not as not conservative as the Christians make him to be. Bart Ehrman holds some very conservative views when it comes to Christianity and New Testament textual criticism. So what the Christians have done is they've made him to be this big boogeyman, basically, the end all, the opposite of proper reasoning, when in fact he does actually hold to many of the positions that they do hold to. So yes, I would recommend him because generally he's a very good scholar. MashaAllah, his works I would recommend, but there are others that I would recommend in his stead, in his place, not because I think that they're more critical, but I think that they're more comprehensive and that they're more useful for apologetics. So for example, Dr. Brent Nungbury, he does away with a lot of the presuppositions or some of the ideas that Bart Ehrman would actually have and demonstrates them to be false. And he lays it out in a very academic and objective manner, a very methodological way. And he's the one I would actually recommend that you take New Testament textual criticism from Dr. Brent Nungbury. So I hope I answered your question, inshallah. So yes, you can study from Dr. Bart Ehrman, but I would recommend you read his works alongside Dr. Brent Nungbury's works, inshallah. Okay, so Brother Shoaib Salah asks, why does it matter that there were more copies of heretical books than those of the New Testament? Can you elaborate on this point? I think you posted a picture showing this. Okay. The standard view of Christianity, if you ask Christians today, is that there's always been one New Testament with these specific documents, and the other documents that were written by other sects were not seen as authoritative enough as the New Testament works. That is false. So what that graph demonstrates is that in one city, well, not city, but in one sort of city, Oxyrhynchus, along the River Nile in Egypt, when the New Testament documents were being written and compiled into one book, they were written and compiled alongside more heretical works than books in the New Testament. So the heretical literature outnumbered the literature that the Christians would accept today. So the point here is that, one, it means that the Christian view of Scripture, as the early Christians had it, is not as homogeneous or as uniform as Christians want us to believe. That's the first point. The second point, this demonstrates that the canon was not settled. Thirdly, it falsifies the argument that other books were not seen as equally or more authoritative than the 27 books of the New Testament. To the contrary, they were seen as greater in importance than the New Testament works themselves. Fourthly, it puts into it contests the idea that the New Testament has always been these 27 books and that Christian groups did not exist with different changes to them. This is not true. Like the graph shows, especially in the city of Oxyrhynchus, a city where writing was done, copying of Christian literature they copied more heretical literature than they copied New Testament literature, which goes to show that they had vastly different beliefs, different ideas, different conceptions, and that early Christianity is not as uniform as Christians would like us to believe. Another scholar who says the same is Van Pelikan, or I think his name is Van Pelikan, and he argues the same point as well. Alhamdulillah. Alright, so I hope I answered your question, Brother Shoaib Salah. Let me know if I did, please, and if I did not, let me know as well, so I can try to answer it again. Brother Saeed Hamza asks, is there any latest book regarding the preservation of the Quran which deals with all the stupid criticism raised by Christians and atheists in the manuscripts? Yes, there is the book by Dr. Samia Mary called Hunting for the Word of God. If you inbox me, I can send you the PDF edition, and inshallah we can possibly try to get you a free copy as well, because on my talks in London and Hong Kong I did distribute physical copies of the book. It's by Dr. Sami Ameri, Hunting for the Word of God. Very good book, mashallah, very good book. He has another edition coming out soon, not on Hunting, not on the same title, a different book, but it covers much of the same material. So I would actually recommend his works, very well presented, alhamdulillah. Please let me know if I've answered your question. But so yeah, that's basically it. There's another book by Dr. Al-Azami. I forgot the name of the book. Give me one sec. What was the name of the book? I actually forgot the name of the book, but it came out this year. It's on Surah 19, I think it's Surah 19 of the Quran. It's by Dr. Al-Azami, and he compares one surah of the Quran with all of the earliest manuscripts, and he demonstrates that there are almost no changes. It's almost exactly the same. And where there are changes, and is differences in spelling, the way in which you represent one word textually, spelling-wise. So, mashallah, he does a fantastic job. I wish I could remember the name of the book. I have it, but it slips my mind. I do apologize for that. But Dr. Azami's latest book as well. So, Dr. Samia Mary, Hunting for the Word of God, and Dr. Azami's latest book. Your second question was, Said Hamza asks, which is the best academic book which you would prefer me, which proves the perfect preservation of the Holy Quran? Dr. Azami's current latest book is the one I would recommend. Alternatively, if you want to understand the sciences of the Quran and the way in which we come to these conclusions on the Quran, I would suggest there's a book by Dr. Taqi Uthmani, Damat Barakatuhum, which is an introduction to the sciences of the Quran, and he goes through some of similar arguments. He focuses less on manuscripts. It's more of the theological, like what do we understand the Quran to be, what do we understand the Qira'at to be, the Ahruf to be, etc. Okay, so Brother Said tells me, I've messaged you on Facebook, please provide me the links. No problem. After the session is done, I will provide you with the links, inshallah. I see that Brother Saifullah has joined us. I met Brother Saifullah. I think his name is Saifullah, if I clicked that properly. Yeah, so his name is Saifullah. I did meet him in London. MashaAllah, very wonderful brother, but very tall. He's like twice my height. MashaAllah, wonderful guy, but twice my height. Guys, if you have questions, send them, inshallah. I'll try to wrap this up within 15 minutes. Give me one sec. Bismillah. Okay, Brother Shoaib Salah asks, is Stephen praying in the book of Acts a proof that the disciples view Jesus to be God? No, because the word for praying is proskuneo, and that's actually false. That just means obeisance or showing respect to. The word used for dedicated worship, like worship to a God, is latreo, and that's the word that's only used for the Father. Never used for Jesus, never used for the Holy Spirit. And that's the word that absolutely means dedicated and specific worship to the highest God, latreo. So proskuneo, it can mean obeisance, which means showing respect or great respect to an individual. Obeisance, Obeisance, I think is how you spell it. So there's two completely different words, but the word latreo is the one you should ask Christians about. Why is this never used for Christ or for the Holy Spirit? So let me know if I've answered your question, Brother Shoaib Salah. I'm not sure if I could. No, I don't think I could comment. Yeah, I could comment. Okay, hold on. Let me see if I didn't change the language on this, but let me write it out for you. Latreo. I think that's the word there, so you should be fine, inshallah. Alright, so let me know if I've answered your question, Brother Salah. If not, let me know and I'll try to answer again. But Kareem asks, if you had to quantify the amount of books that need to be read to gain the knowledge equivalent to a BA, that is a Bachelor of Arts, Master's, or PhD in any given subject, but specifically early Christianity, how many would it be? I'm not asking which books, I'm asking for the amount of books that need to be read and understood. For a Bachelor of Arts, I would recommend at least 10 to 20 books, minimum, around that number, 10 to 20 books around that number. And I would double it as you go up. So 40 for a master's, and then 60 for a PhD, inshallah. There's a book I would actually recommend you read first before you read all the other books. It's called How to Read a Book by Dr. Mortimer J. Adler. And he teaches you how to get into the habit of reading, how to read your books analytically, and how to question what you've read. And he teaches this. He uses the word a bookful blockhead ignorantly read. The word sophomore, for example, means wise idiot, sophos moros, wise idiot, because you read but you don't understand. So he teaches you how to read and how to understand, and I think that's the best place to start with. So first you learn how to read properly, how to read so that you understand and learn, and then you go on to read the other books, inshallah. So let me know if I've answered your question, Brother Kareem. Brother Saeed Hamza asks, why don't you debate J. Smith or David Wood? So I actually answered this earlier in the stream, which is that I did have an arranged debate with J. Smith for November this year, and he pulled out of the debate because he wanted to change the topic to exclude the Bible. So he actually suggested the topic himself, the Quran or the Bible, which is better preserved. And when he found out I was the Muslim's choice for debating, he tried to get me removed as the debater. When that didn't work, he tried to change the topic, and when that didn't work, he said, you know what, if you're not going to drop the Bible from the topic, I'll just give a lecture. And so he gave a lecture. In the meantime, I went to Hong Kong as promised, and he did not show up to any of the events. So Allah knows best. We did our part, he pulled out. That's the way it works. I think David Wood has already been debated. He's not much of a debater, he's a very poor debater, and he's not him. If I have to debate David Wood, it would be on his theology. He does his onto-theology, he's not very good at it. So if I have the debating, that's what I actually focus on, and especially as well on textual criticism. He's not very intelligent, and it's easy to respond to him. Very emotional guy. He says he's a sociopath, but he reacts emotionally very quickly, and you can see that he struggles to manage himself. So I would debate him on onto theology and textual criticism. So let me know if I've answered your question, Brother Saeed Hamza. You ask another question. There's a guy called Islam Critique. Could you come some rebuttals on him, please? I hope you don't get bothered by so many. No, guys, it's a Q&A session. You're supposed to ask questions. If I didn't get questions, I would be worried. Yeah, in a Q&A session. I'm not familiar with him. Maybe I've read his material, but if it's not really academic, if it doesn't have much citations, if it repeats what Christians and atheists say, then it's not really for me, because I'm not looking to interact with the same material recycled over and over again. I'm looking for the source. So the way my philosophy works is that I'm not interested in the people that repeat other people's arguments. I'm interested in the people doing actual research, primary research. I want to debate those individuals. So I think someone like Brother Asadullah Andalusi, who does debate people like he's debated all these quote-unquote ex-Muslims, he would be the better person to respond to Islam Critique, although I don't mind doing so. But my videos takes a much longer time because I focus on very specific areas. He is a YouTube guy. He pointed out mistakes of hijab in his debate against David Wood. Is he an ex-Muslim or is he a Christian? Do you know what perspective he's criticizing him from? That's the important part, yeah? Do let me know, inshallah, in the comments. Yeah, do let me know if Islam Critique is a Christian or ex-Muslim, inshallah. He is a Christian, well, then that's easy to respond to. Now, Brother Muhammad did do fantastic in that debate, but he did make multiple mistakes in his opening statement, and I think twice in his rebuttals when he spoke of That actually slips my mind, but we did try, you know. He did make mistakes in terms of some references and citations, but most of his arguments were accurate, you know, alhamdulillah. And we will respond. I think he did a fantastic job. But yeah, I could, if you send me a couple links here on calling Christians, right here, I will actually respond, and I'll see if I can respond, inshallah. Yeah. Guys, I'm really sorry, but I actually do have to go. I've just received a couple messages. It's 12 noon here. I do have to get going, but thank you for your questions. Please inbox me the rest, and I will get back to you soon, inshallah. Thank you for your time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Bye bye.